I think tokenizing communities is amazing and it's something we're all going to do, but you need a real community before you do that. And I think what happened in 2021, 2022 was people were launching tokens and then trying to create a community. And it doesn't work like that. You need a community first, and then you launch a token to share value or to create value from that community. And I think we got it backwards in the last cycle. And so my hope is that people learn that and they focus on building real community around real things that solve problems for people.
I absolutely love having Web3 creators on this podcast. Today's guest is Kyle. He's the founder of Web3 Academy. They have a podcast, they have an educational platform, and they have a thriving community. In fact, the day I recorded this podcast, they produced their first collectible newsletter. In this episode, Kyle really talks about how Web3 Academy was born, what are the values that they keep in mind while looking at partnerships, sponsorships, how they plan to grow the Web3 Academy, and his general learnings as a creator. I am Diksha, you're listening to Web3 Quest, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode. So your website, Web3 Academy, says that, I'll just read it out. I found it very interesting. Have you gone down the Web3 rabbit hole? Once you do, your life will never be the same again. So let me ask you, once you went down the rabbit hole of Web3, what really changed in your life?
Yeah, great question. A lot, I think, changed. So it was back in I got into the crypto space, and I don't really call this Web3, but I got into like Bitcoin back in 2019. And so that was exciting. I thought that was really cool. And that actually changed a lot for me. And just in terms of understanding the world of money, I was investing for a while, but I never really understood money like you do when you go down that Bitcoin rabbit hole. But I kept knowing that there was this thing called Ethereum. And I was like, what is this? Like, what? I don't get it. I know it's the thing that everyone invests in second to Bitcoin, but like, what does it really do? And I went down a dark rabbit hole. It took a long time to figure it all out. And when I came out the other side, I realized, whoa, this is actually going to change everything. It's not just changing money. It's going to change basically the way that the internet works. And so everything that we do is going to change as a result of this. And so that got me pretty excited. It got me super addicted to the space. So, my life definitely changed in terms of all I do is read and learn and watch videos and network, et cetera, in this space. So that was a big thing. But also what happened was I realized that as a digital entrepreneur, I run a marketing agency and I have clients who are creators. So really big newsletters, big podcasts, big creators on YouTube, Twitter, et cetera. And we help them monetize and build and grow their digital products and their audience. And I realized that with Ethereum and with Web3, that as things move from the online world, which is where it currently exists, to the on-chain world, there's going to be all new ways of utilizing the internet, all new ways of monetizing, all new ways of creating content and engaging your audience and creating community and all these things that we currently do. It's going to all be changed. And so I understood, I got to get ahead of this. Now, I thought it was going to change like super quick. The moment I learned about it, I was like, okay, it's going to be today. I've realized being in the space for a long time, like this is a slow, gradual change in time. And so it's not going to happen right away. But I realized like I want to go down that rabbit hole and stay down it and be ahead of it and be on the forefront. One, because I wanted to make sure that, I could invest in it and be aware of that. But also I want to make sure my clients would understand how the internet is changing and evolving. So that led me to one, pivoting our company. Well, I guess not pivoting, creating a brand new company called Web3 Academy, because Impact Digital Marketing is my agency. But we started Web3 Academy so that we could experiment and network with people. And we have a podcast as well and a newsletter, and basically just like try to understand this journey of how the internet's evolving and then share it with others as we do it. So it's changed in a lot of ways. In the ways that we manage our clients, it's changed in the way that we've created a whole new company, and we've just done a lot of different things in the space. So it's been a lot, but it's been a fun journey so far.
And what time was it that you got into Web3? Like which year was it?
This was early 2020 is when I got into Bitcoin back in 2019. And then when I got into Web3, it wasn't really called Web3 yet, but that was in like early 2020. And then like after COVID happened and NFTs started to become a thing, people started calling it Web3. So I was into it early 2020.
So, I mean, definitely, like, it was already called Web3 when you started Web3 Academy. I remember seeing a video about Web3 Academy. I think it was maybe on Instagram where you say, "Oh, we are not just a podcast. Don't call us just a podcast." And, it was like a very fun video. So tell us, like, what is Web3 Academy and how would you want people to describe it? In your head, what's your vision and what are the values of Web3 Academy?
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason we started Web3 Academy was we wanted people to understand like how we're actually going to use this technology in the real world, right? In our businesses, like how are we really going to use this stuff? And a lot of people weren't talking about that. It was usually like, how can I speculate on this? How can I buy the next meme coin? How can I 1000x my portfolio? How can I flip these monkey NFTs? And I was just sitting there one day, I was like, I get this technology and I see it's going to change a lot, but all the things that I'm seeing on Twitter and on most podcasts, these are not the things that are going to change the world. These are not helping me understand how to change my business or how to do things differently online. And so we decided, well, we'd start Web3 Academy as a way to help people understand how to properly build and invest in Web3. The focus is on fundamental real use cases. So like we want to find the things today that are being built that we'll still use 10 years from now, right? Not the things that we are building and launching that are just fun and people are going to speculate on for the next 6 months and it'd be the next fad. But like, what are the real like world changing things that are being built in this technology? Because we do believe there's a lot of it. And unfortunately, probably 99% of the things currently, or at least through 2021, 2022, the crazy cycle we had in NFTs and in Web3, most of that is just garbage and it's not going to be where the space goes in the future. And it's not going to be the things that will last long term. And so we wanted to uncover that. And so that was the purpose of Web3 Academy was let's start a podcast and let's interview real founders in the space and understand how they're thinking about the space and how they're building for this space. And then let's write a newsletter and let's look at the timely news. What are all the people talking about on Twitter, on podcasts, on newsletters, et cetera, and break it down and go, is this stuff legit? Does this stuff really matter? Or is this just a hype cycle and it's just a way for someone to, kind of scam or take advantage of other people, which there's a lot of in the space. So we really wanted to just like get to the real use cases and the real stuff being built and help people wrap their heads around that. Because I mean, the space is crazy as is. The speculation and the wildness of investing in the space is crazy. So, and then also just the tech itself is very complex and it's reinventing the way that we use the internet in a way that it's hard for people to wrap their heads around. So we wanted to try to be that clarity, that voice of reason to people and go, okay, stop all the noise going on and like, let's just look at what's really happening here. And hopefully that would guide people to build better projects, to invest more successfully, and to, stay in the space because, obviously there's been a lot of scams and a lot of things that have fallen apart. And so people end up leaving. And so it really helps for people to understand like, what's the good happening in the space. And so that was kind of our focus always.
Obviously, you can't do it alone. So what is like the structure how does the team work? How many people do you have? What is everyone focusing on? But I think the most interesting part is like, how did it grow? Because most creators start, even if you look at Bankless, we also had like Rehash, Diana on this podcast. And, she spoke about early days of Rehash and it was very interesting. So tell us about how you started and now how it has grown over 3 years. Yeah.
No, so Web3 Academy started in, I think it was February 2022. So it's only been about a year and a half for Web3 Academy. And we started the company actually with just our marketing team. Like we have an agency. And so everyone was like, well, we're all interested in Web3. We see this as the future. Let's all just kind of build it together. So there wasn't really any content creators other than myself. I've had podcasts in the past and courses and things like that. And so we built it because we work with a lot of newsletters. So we understood how newsletters work. So, and we saw a gap in the market of not a lot of people talking about like utility and the real things happening. So we started it that way. And luckily it was like still in the tail end of the cycle that we just had. So there was still quite a bit of interest at the time. But our content was just very different than everyone else's. It wasn't talking about speculation. We didn't talk about prices of assets. We weren't doing technical analysis and things like that. We were just breaking things down and we were actually tearing a lot of projects apart. We were saying like, look, this doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why it's worth this much. Here's the real, like, there's no real utility. And so people were like, oh, like, we don't all just have to FOMO into everything. There is like real business people that can talk about how to use this in their business or how to not use this in their business. And so I think a lot of people who were either, a lot of our audience came from either the Web2 world, and they were marketing professionals, founders, et cetera, that wanted to move into Web3, but didn't really know how. And then eventually it became a lot of just actual Web3 people that have been in here for a while that were like, oh, these guys get it. Like, we've been saying this for a long time, but we just don't have a voice through a podcast, et cetera. So it grew just from creating quality content. And it's continued to grow even through this bear market, I think, because of that. I know a lot of other creators have seen their numbers go down drastically, and because a lot of it was just promoting hype. And so when the hype goes away, unfortunately, so did the hype seekers. And that's not really who we attracted. We attracted builders and like more fundamental long-term investors and just people who like are technologists that really like what's happening here. So I think that was a big thing. The second thing was building community. So we focused a lot on taking those who listen to our podcast, who read our newsletter, and bringing them into our Discord or following us on Twitter and talking with them and building with them and finding out what content they wanted and what questions they had. And so we do like weekly meetups in our Discord and do AMAs and all this kind of stuff. And I think building community and this like strong network has allowed people to stick around through this whole thing and continue to learn and grow along with us. Because we also don't pretend to be experts by any means. We say, I mean, no one's an expert. The space has been around for just a few years. So we kind of say, hey, we want to learn with everyone. And so join in the discussion, help us, find the right news and find the right things. And so I think building community has been a thing that's really helped us so far. And then, I think that's the main two aspects of it. We have a lot of growth plans for the future and ways that we think we can scale this much faster. It really helps to be doing this in a bull market rather than a bear market. So Bankless is actually a long-term client of ours. And so we were with them previous to the bull market of the last cycle. And the growth that you have when prices are going up is unbelievable in this space. So it definitely helps to be in a bull market, that's for sure. But we like to continue to build through the bear and continue to build out new products and find new ways to provide value to our audience and listeners.
You said a lot of interesting things here, but I'll come back to them. I mean, I have 2 points out of the things you said. But first, I want to ask. So today you sent a newsletter and I collected that article, and you said,
Nice.
No, you can collect our articles. And this is also something we spoke about in the podcast, like collecting content. What made you take this step? And for people who haven't read the newsletter, you also explained that why you should collect this newsletter. So creators who want to start a newsletter and are, focusing on written content, what is the advantage for them to offer it as a collectible? And why did you do it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we believe that we're going through a big migration right now of people moving from online over to on-chain. And we think there's a lot of benefits to that. And those benefits can be financially, they can be in terms of owning your own data, and they can also be in terms of like interoperability. So you can create better experiences when something's on a blockchain versus when it's in a centralized database like on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And so we believe, and it's not even just newsletters, we actually believe that all content will eventually go on chain. And by content, I mean posts on Twitter, posts on Instagram, videos on YouTube, newsletters, podcasts, all these things will be. And there's a few reasons for that. One, verification. So if you think of what's happening with AI right now, let's think of what happened with Drake when all these new Drake songs were created. We didn't know, was that actually Drake or was that an artificial intelligence bot that someone made? And how can you tell? You can't. When someone posts on any platform, you have no idea who did it unless you go and you verify your account on Twitter, and then you do it on SoundCloud and you do it on Spotify and every single platform, which is a bit crazy. And so what blockchain does is allows you to verify. Someone can upload their piece of content and they can do it from me, I can do it from Reidhead.eth. And now you know that it was me who actually you can verify that I actually created and published that content. So I think that's going to be a really, really big use case of why things will go on chain. It's just verification, which is becoming even more important as a result of AI. So there's the verification side of things. The other thing is that you can own the content. Now, most people are like, well, why do I want to own content? And for the most part, most people, you probably don't care to own content. But what happens here is when you can collect that content and it goes into your wallet, that is like a unique identifier. And now I, from Web3 Academy, know that you've collected that piece of content. And I can go and create an experience for you on a different platform outside of my newsletter. And I can create that experience because you have that thing in your wallet. If you just liked that on Substack or whatever, any other newsletter, I can't do anything with that on another platform because these platforms don't speak. Centralized companies don't speak to another. They actually are competitive with each other, so they don't want to. But when you collect it, you own it, you custody it, I can give you any experience on any platform, anywhere on the internet, right? Or actually in the physical world. And so now anyone who's collected that newsletter, I could go right now and create a private channel for you in Discord, and you just got to connect your wallet, prove that you've collected that newsletter, and now I can open up that Discord for you. Or I could go and launch some sort of like PFP NFT or something, which is what a lot of people do, and I can give you whitelist access, so you can be the first to mint that, right? Or I can go on my Lens protocol and I can create content over on Lens. Think of Lens as like your Web3 version of Twitter. And I can create a post and only you can see that post if you've collected my newsletter over on Paragraph, right? So I can create experiences and give access and perks and things on many different platforms across the internet as a result of you collecting or holding that thing in your wallet. Now, our content in that form, what you're collecting is just an NFT that says you've collected it. The other thing that I can do is create scarcity. So what I could do is say the first 100 people to collect this, you get X thing, right? You can win a chance to win whatever, an AMA with me, or you can, I don't know, whatever it is, whatever experience I want. And I can create scarcity and allow only 100 people to collect that, right? I can also gamify it and go, if you've collected, I don't know, 3 of my newsletters and 2 of my posts on Lens, I can give you a discount on the next product that I launch, right? Again, it's this interoperability that you can do with blockchain that you just can't do in Web 2. And so I think that opens up the doors for just so many more new things that we've never even really thought of, all as a result of something being on chain versus just being online. And so I think we'll see this with all content in the future. And we just moved today, actually, as we record this, onto Paragraph, which is like a Web3 version of Substack. And so we're experimenting with it. We're going to see what's possible, what kind of experiences we can create for our readers, and try to push the limits, because a lot of people have not done that yet. This is still very new. And so I just spit out a bunch of different ideas, but maybe there'll be a bunch of other things we can do with it as well. We're not really sure yet. We're going to just kind of experiment and see what happens.
Yeah, congratulations. I think it's a big step. So of all the Web3 social experiences and the platforms you've tried, which one do you think is the most promising and has given maximum value to you till now?
Oh, good question. So there's like 3 good ones right now, or 3 main ones. There's Farcaster, there's Lens Protocol, and there's Diksha. They're all sort of doing this a little bit differently. And the one I've used the most is Lens. Lens has been a partner of Web3 Academy for a long time, so technically I should say they are for sure. But I want to be honest here. I think they're great. What they're building is really cool. So they're building the underlying social graph of the internet, essentially. And so what happens is you mint your account as an NFT, and then all of your content is also an NFT. And when you follow someone, you don't just follow them on like Instagram or their Lens version of Instagram, you follow their wallet. And so that means I can post on one app, and let's say it's the Instagram version, and then someone else can read it on another app. They can see my videos, my images on the TikTok version on top of Lens. So you don't have to be on the same application to display content, to read content, and to publish content, which is really interesting. We've never had that before on the internet. And so that to me is very, very exciting. And so I think that's really cool. They're still in beta. So it's not like it's the greatest platform in the world yet. I don't think it's going to take over Instagram tomorrow. That's for sure. There's about 120,000 users. So it's still small. We're experimenting, but you can do things on Lens that just are not possible on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or anything else. It never will be unless they incorporate blockchain. So I think what Lens is building is really cool. Farcaster is doing something somewhat similar. They're, I think, a little more behind, I guess, than Lens. Lens, I think, was first to launch. But I think what Farcaster is building is pretty sweet as well. So I think both of those two would be the leaders, but they're both in beta. So they're both still really small. I think Farcaster has like maybe 20,000 people on there. So it's tiny versus something like Instagram and Facebook that has 3 billion. So it's hard to say who wins out, but I just love that they're both kind of pushing the edges right now in experimentation and innovation. So I participate in both because I want to help them kind of move forward.
So, for those who are not aware, what is the unique selling point of Farcaster?
So Farcaster it looks and feels exactly like Twitter at the moment. So it's quite easy and it's a good UX. The Lens protocol UX is still a little bit clunky, so it's a little tough. But Farcaster feels and looks like any Web2. But they're doing the same sort of thing. So there's a bunch of different what they call clients. What that means is just apps built on top of their social graph. And so again, you create content on one app and it'll show up on all of the apps. It'd be like posting on TikTok and it shows up on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, etc. Right? And so Farcaster's doing kind of the same thing, just in a little bit different way. They've built their own protocol, and so they're kind of just competing now with Lens, and we'll see who wins out. But I think there's plenty of room for both, and maybe they'll find ways to integrate together. Who knows?
And do you feel that the communities are actually, I'm also on Lens, so it's interesting for me also. And Farcaster, I haven't really started being active there. But do you feel that these platforms have very Web3 native communities and not a lot of Web2 people?
Yes, right now, yes, mainly because they're both in beta, and also because I think Web2 people probably don't understand the benefit of this. A lot of people don't get why owning your own account or owning your content is that important. Until I had a Facebook account. So I used to be in the health space and I had a podcast in a big platform there. And one day I woke up and my Facebook account got banned. And so I had 60,000 people in a Facebook group that were all my ideal customers. And I lost them all in one shot. And so I understood quickly why it's so important to own your content and to own your account. And so a lot of people just don't get that though, because they're not using social for business. So I think, we'll need these experiences of what I was talking about, if the interoperability and you can give away things and have these content across different applications. I think for the average Web2 person, they'll get that and they'll go, oh, this is really cool. You can publish over there, but see the content here. I think that's going to be the thing that gets people really excited about social, probably not owning your content. But I think it's still a ways away from this really becoming a big thing. So I think Web2 people haven't really gotten excited about it. So it's mainly Web3. I think on Farcaster, it's a lot of OGs, so the older people that have been in the space for a long time. And so it's really tight knit. And like I said, it's only 20,000. Whereas Lens is a lot of newer people, but still Web3 natives. They have a wallet. They know what a wallet is. They know what blockchain is. And they're having fun experimenting with collecting and all that kind of stuff. So a little bit different communities, but both very strong. And I think both very exciting.
And actually worth experiencing. I mean, it's engagement-wise, honestly, I feel it's better than Twitter and YouTube if you're a Web3 content creator. Okay, now I'm going to go back into the zoomed-in questions I had from your vision of Web3 Academy. And I've been following your content for a while now, right? And thankfully so, it's not super PR-ish. I get a very newsy feel when I look at your newsletter or when I'm looking at whatever you are doing, the weekly wrap-up that you do. How do you maintain a balance of doing content that is unbiased and at the same time being an organization that is open for partnerships with different brands? So that's the first part. And the second part is, do you have certain values or, say, filtering process when you accept partnerships from Web3 projects?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a great question. And I think, so as I talked about earlier of how we've grown has been by creating quality content and focusing on community. One of the things that I think happens in crypto and Web3 that is a bad thing is a lot of people scam. A lot of people just take advantage of an opportunity and you get one shot at that and then people don't trust you anymore and now you're out. And we understand that. And so we're not here to do this short term. We want to build a long-term business with a quality brand that people know and love and trust. And so for us, we don't want to promote any company that we feel is a scam or that is not creating real value or that honestly we don't even use. We want to make sure we're working with partners that we actually use their stuff. And so that's kind of a key thing for us. The partners we have are quite limited. We try to form more long-term stuff. So Lens Protocol has been a partner of ours for over a year now. We've used, so we actually had an account of ours that went through a phishing attack. And so people actually scammed one of our social media people took their NFT from Lens, and we saw how bad that can be and how brutal that is. And so we found a partner in what's called WAG, which is creating like verified links, something that Web3 really, really needs because a lot of people click links that are broken and that can scam you. So we partnered with them, and so they became a sponsor of us because we used them and we thought it was a great tool that solves a lot of problems. And so a lot of our sponsors are just that, the things that we use that we want our community to also use, or we feel they should be using because it benefits them. And we've kind of stuck to that model. What's interesting is I also, with our agency, we also do sponsorship management for some other big newsletters in the crypto space. And there's a lot of scam companies out there that are just trying to get people to come in, promote this project. A bunch of people end up buying their token and they go and sell the tokens and walk away with it. And so we actually have to like do our due diligence and filter that out. And it's not easy because people can try to make a website look really nice. And if you don't really know what's going on, it's hard for people to like wrap their heads around that. So we do a lot of due diligence on that. And we pride ourselves in trying to find the good companies that are building real things, that have real users, that aren't faking everything. And we want to promote those because we know that if we promote good quality projects all the time, then our listeners, our customers, our audience is going to be happy. If we promote scams, then we know that they're going to get scammed and they're not going to come back and listen to us. They're not going to come back and read our newsletter. Why would they? And so we just know that if we continue to focus on quality, then we'll continue to generate a good quality audience and we should continue to see growth. So that's kind of our ethos and our motto, and we just continue to stick to that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like Web3 communities particularly are super vocal, and they don't like influencer partnerships when they know that you're not using the product, like you're not a believer in it, and they really call it out. I also want to get a little deeper into your mechanism to build a community, because in Web3, whenever I have built a community, it's either been around like a token or, incentive driven. And here your incentive is education, learning. It's not really, let's say, quantifiable in materialistic terms. So you need a very different mindset of people who are there for growth. What has been your experience in building this kind of a community, and what are the learnings you would like to transfer to somebody who's building a similar community?
Yeah, great question. I mean, so community to me is about creating connections, right? It's about like, whether that be one-on-one connections with individuals in your audience, or connecting others that are in your audience, right, to each other. And doing that in a way where people can either learn or they can, find jobs or like whatever the thing is that people want to do in Web3. So it's the thing that I've learned the most from doing this is you can't scale that, right? As a marketer, I always want to automate and scale. Community, I've learned time and time again, you cannot automate, you cannot scale. You actually have to go and have those one-on-one conversations, get on those calls, do the group meetings. Like, these are not things that you just go from 1 to 100,000 in a matter of months, right? It's impossible to scale and automate community. Otherwise, you're not scaling community, you're scaling an audience, which is what most people do, and then they call it a community. And community is very different than audience. Audiences will leave. Audiences have no loyalty, but a community does. And so it's a very, very different thing. The other thing I would say is that getting a bunch of people to buy a token and then join a Discord together and like get all hoorah, that number going to go up, we're going to make all this money, that's not a community. Because as soon as that token doesn't succeed, they're all gone. And so we've never launched a token that has made us any money. We've launched a token one time with our community, but it was valueless. We did it to just like play around and test the DAO structure. We did it to like vote and reward people, but we never actually put liquidity to it. So it never actually had any value. It was just a fun play token that we did to test out tools. We've launched NFTs, but they've always been free. So there's no money that we make from them. And again, we want people to test the technology. We want to push the limits with it, but we're not trying to make a bunch of money off people without giving real value. We have paid products. We have a paid newsletter. We're launching a paid course next week. And so like, yeah, we have a business, and of course we want to make money, but we want to do it in an exchange to giving value to people. And I think a lot of times people are making these fake communities based off of the hope of speculative assets making money. And rarely do these things actually turn out to make money long term. We've seen that over the last year, 2 years. Most tokens are going to zero because they're built around nothing. They're not built around real communities. Same with these PFP projects. that are supposedly communities. Most of them are not. It's just a group of traders and people trying to speculate. And so we've learned to stay away from tokens right off the bat. I think tokenizing communities is amazing, and it's something we're all going to do, but you need a real community before you do that. And I think what happened in 2021, 2022 was people were launching tokens and then trying to create a community. And it doesn't work like that. You need a community first, and then you launch a token to share value or to create value from that community. And I think we got it backwards in the last cycle. And so my hope is that people learn that and they focus on building real community around real things that solve problems for people. And then you can find ways to monetize it through launching, whether that's an NFT or a social token or a community token or a DAO token or whatever you want to do. But you need real community and you need real value there before you're going to do any of that stuff.
So what's the most controversial episode you have done for Web3 Academy?
Controversial? That's an interesting question. I got to sit and think on that one for a second. I think a lot of it actually is in this space. So like recently, the most controversial thing would probably be our discussion around WorldCoin, which we have been talking about a lot lately. I think for those that don't know WorldCoin, it's the founder of OpenAI and ChatGPT, Sam Altman. Him and a few others have created this new company called WorldCoin, where they're trying to create proof of humanity. So basically, they want everyone to have a wallet that's verified, that they're a unique human. And there's a lot of benefits to that. You can give access to banking. You can give access to a lot of things that people don't have around the world because they don't have passports or they don't have like proof of being human in the digital world. The ways that we've done it through like the countries and stuff is not very scalable. It doesn't work all that well. And so they're trying to find a solution to it. And so what they're asking people to do is scan your eyeball in this big orb, and then we can verify that you're a unique human, give you a crypto wallet, and then you can use that to, authenticate whatever it is that you want to do. Basically authenticate you're a human, and you can create content and authenticate it came from you. You can sign up for banks. You can do tons of things, right? It's a massive problem in the world and a really, really big issue. And we need a solution to it, especially again, as AI comes. And so they're one of the first to like try to do this at scale. And there's a lot of people that are very worried about this. They think that it's a scam. They think that they're trying to steal our data and do something with it. There's a token involved. So a lot of people are like, is this just a speculative thing? So there's a lot of controversy in WorldCoin. And while I have no idea if WorldCoin is going to be the solution to this whole proof of humanity thing, I think it's a great experiment, and it's again pushing the innovation forward. And so I'm supporting it. I know a lot of our community is probably not, and especially on Twitter, there's a lot of controversy there. So I don't know. I think it's just a very, very interesting thing to see play out, and I'm rooting for the team, but who knows if it's going to be the right solution or not.
Yeah, I think even Bankless did one episode recently. They also got a big backlash on, why did you have WorldCoin on your pod and etc. You got paid by it, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, there'll always be like two sides to it.
Of course.
So also like you've been very consistent with Web3 Academy. I think you guys do like 2 or 3 episodes a week?
3 podcast episodes a week and 3 newsletters a week.
How? Tell us about the secret sauce of this consistency.
Yeah, I think we have conviction in the space. We have conviction in the business that we're building. And so we're committed to it, number one. Number two, we've built a good team. So we've built a team of young, passionate individuals who, one, love Web3, love kind of what we're doing, love teaching. And so everyone has banded together to kind of build through this bear market where times are tough and just keep putting out good content. And even with all the things of FTX failing and all the like scams, we continue to push this because we believe in it. And so it's been about, passion in the space and then just building a strong team. So we have about 6 of us that are all involved, that are writing content, that are preparing our podcast, and creating like on-chain analysis reports for our pro members, and then also tweeting and posting on Lens, etc. So yeah, it's all been about focusing on building a strong team.
And how much time do you spend writing and researching every week? Like, what is your Web3 Academy contribution every week? Like, how many hours?
how many hours do I spend on Web3 Academy? It's a tough one. It depends on what we're doing. So we just filmed a course, which is actually an investment course in Web3. We have 2 courses. So we just filmed our rabbit hole course, which is to help new people understand what this technology is doing and where it's all going. That's a free course. And then we've also just filmed a investment course to help people, one, get away from all the scams and all the meme coins and all the crap and invest in like the foundational stuff of this space. And so that was a course that's about 10 hours of learning. And that took, I don't know, a lot of my time the last few months. So, I mean, that plus writing has been, I don't know, full-time job for sure. And then we also run a marketing agency on top of that. So it's been a lot of work. But I think now that the courses are done, I should be a little bit less involved. And I mean, again, I'm always on Twitter. I'm always kind of seeing what's happening in the space anyway. When you understand this stuff a lot and you're kind of always keeping up with the news, it doesn't take that long to write a newsletter. And then also using ChatGPT and other AI tools to help kind of streamline things, whether that's just editing, et cetera, can really speed things up. So we found ways to like really optimize and make it manageable in life. I still enjoy my summer. I'm still going to concerts and sporting events and having fun. So it's not like I'm working 90 hours a week, that's for sure.
Yeah, good. Are you getting time to surf? I also did some research on you before the interview.
I do surf a lot. I'm not right now because I'm in Canada, so there's not a lot of surf where I am. But earlier this year, I was in Nicaragua for a month, and so I was surfing every day. So it depends. If I'm in a country that I can surf, because I also live somewhat nomadic, I will surf every single day if I can, as long as the weather permits. But right now, not getting a lot of surf in, unfortunately. But if you see the background, I'm up at a cottage right by the lake. And so get to still at least spend some time on the beach, which is great.
Cool. Okay, so one more question before rapid fire. What's the hardest part of being in Web3, according to you?
Ooh, that's a good question. The hardest part, I think, is... Okay, actually, there's a few things that are hard. One is the amount of scams and opportunists in this space. It's annoying, it's frustrating, it's upsetting, and it makes the space look bad, which sucks. So I hate that. And that's really one of the things that drives us to keep putting out good content, because we want to make people understand like, hey, this is actually making a lot of people's lives better, and makes the internet much better. Even though what you see in headlines is that it's just scam after hack, whatever. So that part is annoying, and we'll continue to push to help in that. I think the other thing is because the space it's so financialized that it relies a lot on markets, right? There's no other industry that's like this where, I mean, obviously everything is correlated to market swings. If markets are not doing well in traditional markets, then less people are buying things. And so all industries are affected, but nothing like crypto and Web3, because when these markets go down, they go down a lot, right? We've just had a bear market where everything went down 80, 90%. And a lot of people end up leaving the space. And so unfortunately, a lot of developers leave and a lot of like builders and founders leave. And so it makes building in the space quite difficult because it's just so volatile. Not just the prices, but I mean the user base and even the perception of the space is very volatile, right? In 2021, everyone loved this. They're like, oh, this is the future. And then you have over the last year, people are like, oh my God, it's dead, right? Whereas we know from being in the space for a while, like I don't have those swings like the media does and like the prices do. I'm pretty much like, I get it and I see where the direction is going, but others don't. And so it makes it a challenging space to build for and to like create content for. So I think that will mature as this technology matures. So like I'm still extremely bullish and I have tons of conviction, but it makes it tough now because it's just so new, right? And so immature. So hopefully it grows up.
Yeah, I think trust and keeping trust in the industry rather is the most difficult part. Okay, now we have a rapid fire. So what was the first NFT you ever bought?
Ooh, good question. What was the first? Oh, I actually know what it was. It was a Meebit. So Meebit is like the second iteration that came after CryptoPunks, but it was an NFT that it's like a 3D type avatar. So instead of being a PFP, it's one you would use in the metaverse. And I thought that was really cool. And I was like, oh, this could definitely be a thing. didn't really realize metaverse is going to be much farther away. And so by the time we actually use these things, like we're not really there. I bought this back in, I don't know, early 2021. But thought it was super cool. I got one that I really liked and enjoyed. So it was fun. And it was great to just learn and experiment that early.
You still have it?
Nope. I actually sold it.
So what is your favorite podcast besides Web3 Academy? It can also be like non-Web3.
Yeah, I think so. I have a few. In terms of like crypto and Web3, it's probably the Bankless podcast. Been big fans of theirs for a long time. Have worked with them for many years. So love what they're doing. They also have really strong values and ethos similar to us. So I would say them. And then outside of that, I would say probably the Tim Ferriss podcast is one of my favorite podcasts. It's not crypto Web3 related, but he does talk about it sometimes. But he's just got a lot of amazing people that come on the show.
Yeah, it's really good. I think it's the only podcast I can listen for 3 hours and not complain that it's too long.
Right.
So Reddit or Twitter?
In terms of what that I like to use?
Yes. Where do you spend more time?
So I spend more time on Twitter, a lot more time on Twitter. However, I think Reddit is the leader in Web3 right now. They are bringing on the most wallets in Web3. They're doing some amazing things with NFTs and with social tokens. And so I am rooting for Reddit a ton, but I also use Twitter a lot more than I use Reddit. So I got to say Twitter, I guess.
Yeah, I think all of us in crypto do. Okay, and I think I know the answer, but what's your favorite outdoor activity?
Love that. I mean, I love being in the sun, so I'll do anything in the sun, but surfing for sure would be my favorite outdoor activity. It's something I've done for years now, and it puts me in my happy place. I actually have a tattoo. I have a tattoo of surf. I can't get this out, but I have a tattoo of it on my forearm, so it's definitely my favorite.
Nice. I love it when Web3 people have like an outdoor activity, because I most of the time think we are like so caught up with Discord and Twitter and Telegram that we don't see the world outside.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the last book you read?
Ooh, well, currently I'm reading a book called Barbarian Days, which is a book that I've already read years ago, and it's a surfing book. And it's the story of this writer who grew up in Hawaii and then travels around the world and surfs in different countries like Indonesia and Bali, but back in the 70s, so before anyone was there. So really, really interesting book. And yeah, I'm reading it for the second time, but it's a lot of fun.
Bitcoin or Ethereum?
Ethereum for sure. Okay. I think Ethereum is doing way more than Bitcoin. I think the tokenomics are way better on ETH. And I think just the use cases and capabilities on Ethereum are much better than what Bitcoin's doing. Nothing against Bitcoin, though.
Yeah, no offense. I mean, I'm on your side. So if you could have dinner with a Web3 OG figure, who would it be and what would you ask them?
Ooh, it would be Brian Armstrong, who's the CEO of Coinbase, I think. Because I just think the way that he's built this business has been amazing. He's been around since I think they started Coinbase in 2013, and they've just been right on so much. And I think what they're building is going to be extremely big and a lot more than just an exchange like it is today. So I'm extremely bullish on Coinbase, and I just think what they've built and how they've done has been amazing. So I really respect Brian Armstrong. What I would ask him, that I honestly don't know. That's a tough call.
Okay. Well, hope he listens to this.
That'd be great.
And yeah, thanks for your time, Kyle. And this was really fun. The time passed very quick and fast, but I'm glad we could cover, a lot. And yeah, thanks for being our guest.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And continue to produce content. I love it, and it's a great thing. We need more of it in the space. So appreciate you.